All right, welcome to Let Freedom Ring. I love on the live stream when I got to actually play the music. I'm not used to hearing the music in the studio before it comes on. But my guest tonight, we're going back to the Bayou. We had Marcus Hay on the show the other day from the World Elite Podcast. Now we have another member of the World Elite Podcast on the show, Dylan Aber. Did I say it right?
You're close,
Aber.
Hebert. Yes.
Aber. Okay. I know it's tough because I have a tough last name to say too. So I totally,
Right.
I know we went over that before we started. That's one of the hardest things of being a host. It's saying the last name right. But no,
Right.
I appreciate you being on. Let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Opelousas, Louisiana. It's more of the bigger towns from where I'm around, but I've have lived my entire life in Vidrine, Louisiana. It's a very small town. You blink and you'll miss it. That's how small we are over here. Very country, very small part of Louisiana. It's just nice. I love the quiet spots in Louisiana. I'm not big on the big cities like Baton Rouge, New Orleans, nothing like that. I couldn't live in a city, so that's why I love being here all my life.
Awesome, awesome. I'm not a big city guy either. We have a few in New Hampshire that I guess you could call big, but I go into Boston, I go, this. Not that I don't like Boston, but
Right.
I would never live there. Uh, you know.
Right.
Now I got to ask this: what are three things that everybody should know about you?
One thing, if someone wants to get to know me very well, then I'm a big family guy. I love family. I lost my dad in 2008. I feel like that really got me closer to my family than I already was. Uh, just something I love to do. If I'm not doing something on weekends, then I love to spend time with family. That's like my main priority is my family. Let's see. I love sports. I'm very passionate about my sports teams. If I'm watching a game and if we're losing, someone starts bad mouthing my team, I'm a good chance I'll go off. Not that I want to, but it's just something about me. I'm very passionate. I'm a very passionate sports fan. And two, and my third one is I'm religious. I'm a big God guy. It's some is that I don't go to church as often as I should, but when I do, I just enjoy it. My dad got me into going to church, and sadly, like I said, I don't go as much as I should, but soon enough I will start going back more often. But yeah, I'm a very calm guy. I'm not one that likes to go out often. I'm very to myself, to my family, and all of that. So yeah.
No, I appreciate that. I agree with that. My Christian faith is something that's really important to me. I don't go to church really per se. I left the Catholic Church in 2001, and you probably know
Mhm.
there's many reasons that we left. But my belief in Jesus Christ has never ever left me, and it's a really important part of my life. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I
Okay.
just want to give a shout out to Crayon Dude, part of the Four Families. Yes, Crayon Dude, it is live. That's why you're watching it now and how you're able to comment on it. Rob's an awesome guy, and he used to follow Mike D. Stefano's show, coming down the aisle quite a bit. That's how we've got to know Crayon Dude. He's a wonderful guy.
Nice.
Um, all right, we'll get into that. We will ask some fan questions too. I want to ask this though. This is the biggest question in Let Freedom Ring, because this means so many different things to so many different people. But what does it mean to you to be an American?
I mean, everyone else has their own sort of definition of it, but me, it's all about being free. So many people, more celebrities, more than others, always complain about the country. Oh, this ain't going right. This ain't going right. But always remember, it could be worse somewhere else. You see sort of countries that are always in war with someone else, or they don't have the freedom we have over here. So that's what I'm all about in America. It's just about being free. The men and women who fight for our freedom, they go through so much, and they're risking their lives for us. So that's something I'm always grateful for, is for the freedom that I have in this country. And that's what I think about when I think of America. It's just freedom, because no other country has the freedom we have.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, when you really think about it, I've had some guests. I've had a guest before that was like, I'm not sure how proud I am to be an American, but let's think about this for real, for a real second. What are we doing right now? Me and you are on a live stream. We're hanging out. We're just chatting.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you do this in other countries? Yeah, there are some, but there's some that you can't. I've had guests on the show that are from originally from the United States. They're living in other countries now. They had to be very careful about what they said on the show. So
Right.
I totally love that. I love that answer. And yeah, when it all comes down to it, uh, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Exactly. Same here.
Um, and Crayon Dude, you have some really good questions coming in. So we're going to hit that during the fan section, fan questions during the show, because he's got a lot of ones coming in here. So, but I do want to
Nice.
talk about this. Um, World Elite Podcast. You guys are doing, big things. We've had Marcus, like I said, on the show. I've been on your show. I have a lot of questions because as someone that started a show, it's very interesting to me how others get into that. How do you decide you want to start podcasting?
So I'm not sure how Marcus described his. I didn't get to watch the full episode yet that you did with him, but soon enough I will tune into the full thing. I was doing a lot of stuff Friday, but I'm not sure the extent he went into telling about our show. So in the pandemic, I would say around April, May is when I got with a website called Downtown Sports Network, and I only got on there as their graphic designer. So I wanted to expand myself. Whenever I'm somewhere and I'm contributing, I always want to do more. I never feel like I'm doing enough. So I want to keep on and keep on. So I expanded myself from graphic designing to article writing, and I was doing articles on the New Orleans Saints, my favorite football team. They had one other guy doing articles there, Devin Jackson, and so I got on with him, and then I eventually started writing about the wrestling. So I was doing Saints and wrestling at the same time, and then I eventually wanted to get myself into doing more stuff, and I wanted to actually test myself in podcasting. So World Elite was not my first podcast I ever did. I was actually doing another podcast for the New Orleans Saints, which was a part of Downtown Sports Network. But then, as that goes on, me and Marcus had the idea because we visited the idea of starting a podcast before I started my Saints one, and it's just the idea never took off because we didn't know the first thing about doing one. Like we didn't know the equipment we had to do. Like we didn't know the softwares we should download, anything like that. So we just never really visited the idea ever again until I got some knowledge about starting a podcast because my friend Devin, who I had started the Saints one with, he gave me the pointers about what I should download, the equipment I should use, and whatnot. So, in the midst of all that, we started the World Elite podcast in November of 2020. Still going to this day. Sadly, my Saints podcast kind of faded out, and it's nobody's fault. Like, Devin is a very busy guy. He works for a new station in Philadelphia right now because he was in another part of Pennsylvania. He moved to New Orleans, started working for NOLA.com, and then accepted another position for sports betting in Philadelphia. So he's a very, very busy guy. So me and him, we just mutually finished the podcast. And in the midst of all that, like I said, we even broke off from Downtown Sports Network. We started our own show, Saints Wise, kept the same format. It's just we weren't under the DTSN format anymore. But then Marcus and I started the show, and we did our first show. It was a recap of, I believe, AEW Revolution. And it's like after our first episode, it's almost like the feeling of getting your first tattoo. It's like when you get that first one, it's just the addiction keeps going. And it's like after our first one, we kept on talking about how much fun we had. And it's just something we wanted to keep building on. So I mean, we're past the 2 year mark, and we just have so many more ideas for the show, and it's like we can never finish growing because I feel like we're never gonna finally finish growing because we want to keep on getting better and better. But yeah, the pandemic I feel like is when a lot of people started their podcasting, and we were just one of them that did it, and we've made so many friends along the way from doing it. So this has been so much fun starting a podcast, and I'm really happy me and Marcus actually revisited the idea of doing it because we talked about it, it kind of faded out, and then we visited again actually whenever I knew what I was doing, and actually he learned to start doing stuff, editing and then live streaming and then all that. So it's like we own as we have our own knowledge about doing it, and we even brought on my cousin Jordan as a third co-host like maybe 2-3 months after we started doing it. So adding a third piece like Jordan, really someone who kind of grew up the same way I did. I grew up very shy, not outgoing, nothing like that. So that's kind of opened him up more to doing stuff like that. So maybe one day he'll be on your show.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. Now I got to ask this because, and everybody, if there are questions coming in, I will answer that. We will do those questions during the fan question segment. So feel free to throw those in as you're commenting. But I do want to bring up this. Um, I assumed when I first, because Marcus, I think I met through Eli Myers out of Minnesota.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Eli was like, "No, you really got to talk to this guy. He's got the show. He'd love to have you on." But when I started to learn about World Elite, I thought you and Marcus were like high school friends, or you've always
Oh
known each
yeah.
other because you're from the same state. That's not entirely true, is it?
Oh, we actually met on Twitter, and we didn't even know we lived that close to each other. I mean, I say close, we live about an hour apart from each other, but I honestly don't even remember like how we met. Like somehow we saw we were following each other, saw we were each from Louisiana, and somehow we connected on the same things. Like when it comes to video games or wrestling or sports, something about us just connected, and then just one thing led to another. And I mean, 2 years later, I mean, we're just a very successful podcast.
Now, what's it like working with Marcus?
Marcus is a character. I'm not gonna lie. He really is. You know, he's one of the more outspoken ones of the show. If you haven't learned that by now, listening to our episodes, he's one that loves to ramble. And honestly, when he goes on a ramble, I just let him go. There's no reason to cut him off, nothing like that. I want him to get any sort of words out that he wants to. But no, Marcus is awesome. I mean, he's just a fun one to work with. You know, I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else. You know, he's become one of my best friends over the last couple years, and honestly, you know, people may have their opinions on him. I mean, they can think that all they want, but I know the true side of Marcus, and I know he's a very good guy and just very fun to work with.
No, I've enjoyed all the episodes. I mean, having him on my show and doing a show with him. People were giving him a little crap about not returning shopping carts, but he made the claim that he actually did return the carts. That it was more for show in that video.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that he posted that video in your comments, and yeah, that's something I really learned about you with the shopping cart thing. So every time I save my shopping cart now, I think about you when I do it.
Hey, it's a small thing. It's the right thing to do. Again,
Right.
we're expanding. The revolution is here. We all know the revolution
Yeah.
is here. It's put the cart back and just be. Don't leave them all over the place. Come on. Now I gotta ask this: what have been some of your favorite episodes that you've done?
Oof. I mean, counting live streams, I mean, we're way past the 200 episode mark. I mean, audio, I believe we're at 186, 187, something like that. I mean, if I had to pinpoint a few ones, Jordan and I did an episode. I want to say earlier in the year, we did like a way too early booking for this year's WrestleMania. And the reason why I like it so much is because, you know, Jordan, whenever we have Jordan on our shows, you know, he's not one to really be like the outspoken guy. So whenever I got him on that episode, I think that's the most he's ever talked, and it's one I always highlight for him because for me it's all about growth when it comes to doing a podcast. And when we brought Jordan on, that was the main goal I had for him, is to open him up the way that I was opened up whenever I started doing podcasting. Because when I started doing podcasting, I was the quiet one. I was the one that always let the co-host talk. So whenever I had him on for that one, I mean, that just opened him up like crazy. So that's one I always pinpoint. One, if I want to pick one that we did all three of us together, we did sort of like a little series, I would say, earlier in the year. We highlighted the OVW class with like Randy Orton, Batista, John Cena, and the others. And we did one on Randy Orton. And the reason why I say I like this one so much is because Marcus told us like a funny story about how he was in, I think, New Orleans, and he was at like a strip club, and I think a stripper gave him like a lap dance to Randy Orton's current theme song, and it was it
Oh,
was it was something that caught me off guard so bad. But that's one I always like. It's just funny to get us all three on there, and sometimes the show goes off the rails, and it's just funny conversation. And really that's what I love about the show, is when we go off the rails, have funny conversations, and not even talk about what we're supposed to be talking about.
No, I love that on any show when it just starts going. You're like, you know what, this is good. I don't care how much time we have left. Just let's just keep going with this. Um,
Right.
so I totally get that. Definitely another shout to Ken Crowndu. We will hit your questions as well. Mike Campbell shouting out, put the cart back. We all agree with that. I gotta ask this because I know how I could answer this question doing my show. What is the most difficult part of doing your show?
I mean, really, there's nothing extremely difficult on it. I mean, with three of us on there, I would say a lot of difficult things is to make sure we're all getting the equal amount of being vocal on the show. Sometimes one of us is talking more than the other, and we're not really noticing it. And then the moment we're done recording, we're like, oh, I could have let this person talk more, or I could have let this person say something that they wanted to say. It's just I didn't give them that opportunity. So that's for me. That's really the only difficult part of the show. If I had to say something else, it's just hard to get our schedules to line up to actually keep pumping out more episodes. Because of work and family stuff and everything. And I think especially around this time because we had a really busy month scheduled. But I mean, for us, it's December 20th, and we haven't pumped out really much content at all. And we had a really busy schedule, or so to speak, we thought. But it's just, I mean, with work and with family stuff, Christmas time, it's just really tough to put it out. So schedule wise, also is a really difficult part about the show.
No, it's gonna be like honestly, like the way I do my show, it's just me. So it's just
Hmm.
booking a guest, but I could see where that's tough, where you do have other co-hosts and you gotta get them involved too. So
Right,
totally can understand where scheduling can be not the easiest.
right.
Now I want to ask this, and before we go into it, this is the logo to the World Elite podcast. Want to get this out there. Marcus said that you were a big part of this designing. Am I? Do I have that right?
Yeah, I made the logo.
Okay.
Yeah.
What went into kind of making this?
So we actually had a logo that was a little similar to that. I actually had someone professionally make it for us. Took them, I would say, maybe 2 weeks to make it. And in the middle, right there, you see something that's like a world, almost like a globe type graphic on there. And I kind of feel like that symbolizes us with the whole world elite. Not so much the elite part of it, but if you're looking at the world part of it, then yeah, and then the colors of it, we always adapted the purple and gold, like the LSU type color base. So we always wanted to incorporate that in there. So it's so for my graphics, I use Canva, and I honestly took uh, just kind of a template from it, and I just worked with it a little bit, changed up the fonts, put my own stuff. I kept the stars that were given to me, and just changed the colors on it, and I incorporated the little world graphic in there as well. So I kind of took it from our old logo and just kind of revamped it a little bit.
Yeah, no, no, it looks great. I mean, definitely put that on a t-shirt for sure.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah, yeah. That's one thing I'm working on. I'm working on the merchandise part of things. That's something we're kind of behind on right now.
No, no, and that's a tough thing. I like I said on this show we don't have anything yet. Working on it. I think I'm gonna make. I don't want to reveal too much, but a softball jersey type looking shirt could be coming out soon for Let Freedom Ring. Um, and Crayon Dude is shouting out. He's a big Lakers guy, so
Mm,
he likes those
mm,
colors.
mm.
I want to ask this: what does the future hold for the World Lead podcast?
So it's no spoiler because we announced it on our 2 year show, but we're actually transitioning ourselves into a wrestling. We're going to stick with the whole wrestling format, but we're also going to dive into entertainment as well. We did like a series. I know Marcus had mentioned it that we did like a series recap on the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix. We got a lot of good feedback on that one, despite the series being criticized pretty heavily by a lot of people. Something that a lot of people couldn't get through, and somehow I made it through the whole series. Marcus made it through the whole series. It was really tough to watch, but it's just a reenactment. I mean, it's just a reenactment, and a lot of people couldn't get past it. And then Marcus and Jordan did a Halloween movie review from Netflix that got pretty good reviews as well. So we saw we were getting good reviews on the movie reviews. So So I talked to Marcus and I'm like, hey, I mean, do you want to actually start? Doing entertainment, like doing like TV show reviews, like talking TV shows, talking movies, stuff like that, kind of like giving us more to talk about other than wrestling. So, I mean, he was fully on board with it. And then on our 2 year show that we did last month, we actually announced that starting up in 2023, that we're going to be a wrestling slash entertainment podcast. So that's something fun that I think we're going to start doing just as the year goes on for 2023, is actually start talking more movies and more TV shows, music, whatever. I mean, it just gives us something to like expand ourselves on.
Yeah, no, no, I love that. Expansion's like a big thing, and that's why we've always, on Let Freedom Ring, we've always left it wide open to what, what the show's going to be
Mhm.
about. So I love that a lot. Now I want to talk about this because I went on an epic Facebook rant on Sunday night. Obviously, the Patriots
Mhm.
had a very embarrassing loss. I'm getting heckled by people in my area that are not Patriots fans, which is fine, but it gets annoying after a while when it's like, well, you live here too, or you grew up here, or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
how do you feel now? And I want to talk about this a little bit, like how fanhood works, because you are a Red Sox fan living in Louisiana.
All right.
Have you always been a Sox fan your whole life?
Yeah, the moment I got into baseball as a child, I somehow landed on the Red Sox. My brother was a Yankees fan, got into baseball before I did.
Okay.
So I think I wanted to do something to spite him a little bit. So I became a fan of the rival team, and it just always stuck with me.
All right, all right, that makes sense. I totally get that. Now, obviously here, not a lot of options. I did like the Atlanta Braves as well growing up, just because they're on TBS all the time, which we talked about. But how do you feel like about like fans living in different areas or fans developing uh, a love for a team that they just have no, and I know you stand by this too, but like no regional there's no regional reason why they like that team.
So around here, it's pretty common for someone to like a team and with no knowledge about them. And the reason why they like them is simply because something as little as the colors. So you see a lot of Steelers fans because of the whole black and yellow. You see a lot of Cowboys fans. That's something big around here is Cowboys.
I
See
can
the
see that, yeah.
49ers, you see Eagles. I mean, you see a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans here. So really, I mean, while they may have some knowledge on it, it's just simply something as little as colors. So while I won't judge someone for not being like a Saints fan or something like that, I'm not going to go that far into criticizing someone for their fandom or nothing like that. It's just you got to give me a good reason why you're actually a fan of this team, not simply because you like the colors or anything like that. You have to actually have some sort of maybe like a history of knowing this team, or you may be a fan of them whenever you were a child and then you just somehow still became a fan of them to this day or something like that.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I just, you know what, I think what annoys me, and it's all in fun and games, like it's not really that serious, but I'm getting trolled by people that live in New England about liking the team that plays in New England. It's like you live here too, like,
Right.
so I always find that interesting. How did you now? Like you explained, like your Red Sox fandom, which more again, and I get that a lot of people were Yankees fans across the country, especially if you don't have a baseball team in Louisiana. I get that.
Mhm.
What? How did you become a fan of your other teams? Is it more just where you grew up, or like was your parents into it, family into it?
So the main one I'll speak on is the Saints because, like I said, I was a like huge personal connection with my father. He's a huge diehard Saints fan. He's the one that got me into it, got me to love them. We were actually, I say 15, 16 year season ticket holders. We gave him up a few
Oh
years
wow.
ago with my mom's health and whatnot. And just to travel back and forth to New Orleans every week just about was a lot. And especially with things going up in price nowadays, I mean, it was almost just unaffordable. So it's always nice now to be home and watch the games. And now you didn't got to fight traffic to get home, and like if it's a night game, you're getting home about 3 in the morning. So it's always nice just to be home and to watch it. So the
At
yeah,
night
the
games can be crazy getting home.
oh my god, yes. Yeah, oh yeah, doing that for 15, 16 years, it was just a headache, and it just got worse every year, so while it sucked to give them up, we always had that personal connection with those tickets. Yeah, it's just nice to be home and just to watch it from your own couch and be able to enjoy it with family. Now, same thing with LSU, if I want to pick a team from my own place, they have UL Lafayette, they have Tulane, uh, they have Louisiana Tech, but for me, I'm gonna pick like the big team around here, so I'm gonna choose LSU. Been an LSU guy, and like since I got into football. And now, like I said, the Red Sox was simply despite my brother when I was a child, and my fandom for them just grew more and more. Same thing with the Pelicans. I'm a big Pelicans guy, and I actually haven't always been a Pelicans guy because I'm a big LeBron James fan. So for me, I always followed where he went. Cavaliers, the Heat. I never followed him when he went to the Lakers. So when he went to the Lakers is when I really started following the Pelicans more. And if I follow hockey a little bit, I follow hockey just a little bit. And I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan.
Okay.
And reason why is because my mom's from Illinois. I got a lot of family in Illinois, and she convinced me to be a Blackhawks fan. I wanted to get into the NHL, and she's the one who convinced me to say, "Yeah, be a Blackhawks fan. Watch them, see how they are." And funny enough, when I started watching them, is the year they won the Stanley Cup. So that just grew my interest in the Blackhawks. But I mean, ever since then, we've been not great. So me, I got teams all over, but like for the main sports, NFL, college, and the NBA, I stick to Louisiana, but I got a few that's out of the state.
That's all right, and again, I posted that, and I'm only kind of trolling a little bit. I really don't care
Mhm.
who roots for whatever. Like I said, I have a soft spot for the Atlanta Braves. I always have. I don't know who's on that team anymore or anything like that, but I always will care about the Braves and hope they do well. And then I'm a Notre Dame guy. I obviously,
Mhm.
but that's a big thing here in New England. Is we have a lot of Irish people here, so a lot
Mhm.
of us do love Notre Dame. So
Right.
um, I gotta ask you this: NFL refs refereeing right now. Do you feel like there's like a problem in this league, or is it just that this sport is so complicated and there's so many ways to interpret things that there's no way they're ever going to get this right?
Coming from a diehard Saints fan, there's a huge problem with officiating. Something I have noticed since I would say the no call against the Rams. I was in attendance for it. It was the worst feeling in the world. Possible chance at the Super Bowl. Drew Brees
Mm.
passes to Tommy Lee Lewis, and then Nickel Roby Coleman hits him very intentionally. The ref's right there, doesn't call anything, and then you couldn't challenge it. It's not reviewable, nothing, and that cost us a trip to the Super Bowl. So since then, I knew the officiating was just not good. Something that has been proven week after week, and certain teams I feel like I'm kind of benefit from officiating. Some actually get the advantage from it, some not so much. And I feel like the Saints are one of those teams that really, really get the disadvantage from officiating. And I'm really not sure why. It's like no matter what happens, I feel like if a good play happens, I know it's coming back because I mean they're gonna call something on us. Certain players I do see the advantage, one being a certain Tom Brady getting the heavy calls for him, someone like Aaron Rodgers, and I feel like some other quarterbacks coming up are going to start getting those calls. Like maybe someone who I love and Joe Burrows is going to start getting those calls. Maybe Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, they're all going to start getting those calls that like a Brady or a Rodgers is getting right now. So I feel like the officiating kind of takes their pick on who they want to call something for, and the Saints always get that disadvantage. So yeah, I really do feel like the officiating is I think it's rigged. I don't want to say it's rigged, but it's blatant right now. Is very obvious right now that it's rigged. And like I said, coming from a Saints fan that witnessed the worst no call in history, it's just bad to see.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are because everybody thinks Patriot fans are babies or whatever because we were spoiled or whatever, and there was some, the 1 foot out. Honestly, we're gonna talk about this in a second. After what happened after that play, it's kind of irrelevant. But even the Dolphins felt like they got hosed on Saturday night.
Hmm.
It's like that's a big call that now here are the Bills. Josh, that's gonna be easy to end this
Hmm.
game. So I'm with you. I definitely think it's suspect, but I don't think it's every league. Like as everybody knows that maybe watch the show, I'm a huge fan of Major League Rugby, and
Hmm.
they have issues with officiating that I didn't want to admit for a while. So I don't know how to make it perfect, but you're right. At times you're like, man, this just is Vegas deciding what happens in this game, you know.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So I have to ask this: do you think that did you see the highlights from the Patriots game on Sunday?
I actually saw it
Do you-
live when it happened.
Okay, as did I. Did you think that was one of the? Is that the most bonehead play you've ever seen? I know it's a regular season game. We're not talking. Their season was on the line, but have you seen anything
Hmm.
like that that you were like, what the hell were they thinking?
So while I want to put that up there in the ranks as one of the worst plays I've seen, because that was, I mean, that was rough. I mean, you could have just went down, go to overtime with a chance to win, and somehow you like throw it all the way back for a
In a
Chandler
tie
Jones to
game.
get it around all the way. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And yeah, so while I want to say it's one of the worst plays, I mean, yeah, it is, but if you're talking about the worst of all time, no, I'm gonna go back to like a while back. It was a Sunday night football game, I believe. I know the Colts were playing. I think it was that fake punt that they were attempting, where like the entire special teams lined up on one side, the punter lined up under the snapper, and absolutely nobody was in front of him. And the moment he snapped the ball, it's like he just went down, and it just talked about how the commentators were talking about how that was one of the worst plays they'd ever seen. They weren't even know what they were trying to accomplish. So yeah, that has to rank up there as the worst one I've ever seen. I don't think anything can top how bad that was.
No, no, I don't disagree there, but I saw a lot of fans being like, "What?" But oh, the butt fump. I'm like, what happened at the end of the Patriots game was, in my opinion, worse than the butt fumble because it made
Hmm.
absolutely no sense, whatever. And and poor Mac Jones, he's the one getting ripped. Oh, you couldn't tackle Chandler Jones? No, he would have got he would have got Matt. Like he had no shot. He shouldn't be in that
Exactly.
position. So I think that team is just very undisciplined, and I don't know what to say about it. I'll always love the Patriots, but like my God, that was bad.
It
Um,
was.
do you have some favorite sports moments?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was in attendance for one of the greatest Saints moments in history was Garrett Hartley kicking the Saints to the Super Bowl against the Vikings. And even witnessing Tracy Porter's interception of Brett Favre, and Brett Favre could have easily ran it a few more yards and set up a game-winning field goal for the Vikings, but somehow decided to throw it across his body for Tracy Porter to intercept it.
That's Brett
But I
Favre.
mean, yeah, but yeah, but great sports moments in general. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Tracy Porter getting the pick six in the Super Bowl. I mean, for a Saints fan, witnessing your first Super Bowl win, just nothing that can top that. So, but other moments, I mean, it's I don't know, kind of tough. I mean, because I really follow a lot of teams or even talk about their moments. But for me, I'm a big fan of Joe Burrow. LSU ties. Seeing him go to the Super Bowl sucks. He couldn't win it. The offensive line, I felt like, is the one that prevented him from winning it. Like
Oh,
he
he'll
had
win
Jamar
one.
Chase open, and oh, for sure he'll win one. He's just got to get that offensive line. And but there's so many great moments in the NFL. But like I said, from my Saints ties, LSU ties, seeing Joe Burrow go to the Super Bowl, seeing the Saints actually win the Super Bowl, I mean, nothing can top that for me.
No, and I gotta say that Saints. I was very happy about that because I actually like Peyton Manning. Like
Hmm.
Peyton Manning, like I just didn't like him when he was a player. I think he's
Right.
hilarious. I could watch the Manning cast all day. When the Saints got that onside kick, man, that was something. That was something special that I didn't think any coach would have the balls to do. And when Sean Payton did that, it was like, wow, this team's winning
Yeah.
this goddamn game. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a gutsy play. The moment I saw it happen, I mean, just what you said. The Saints are winning this no matter what. It just took a lot of guts to do it. Sean Payton did it, and it just worked out for us. Thank God it did.
yeah, no, that was one that for non-Patriots Super Bowl, that was one of my favorites. I've never been an anti like I've always kind of like I'm not a Saints fan by any means, but I've never been
Mhm.
hated the Saints or had any dislike towards them or anything like that. So we got some fan questions. We're gonna hit Crayon Dude here first. I have some other ones that were asked earlier, but I know Crayon Dude's been asking quite a bit of questions. So, who's the Saints quarterback next year?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, this is a tough question, because we have no future right now when it comes to the Saints. The reason why I say that is because if we actually had our first round pick, then we would be in like the top maybe 6, 7, something like that. But no, the Eagles own our first round pick because we traded our first round pick just to move a few spots to get Chris Olave. So I mean, when you talk about receiver, he's our future no matter what. Because Michael Thomas somehow got a contract and doesn't want to play. But quarterback wise, I mean, this is tough. I mean, we have Andy Dalton going right now. He's hit or miss. I don't see him being like a future guy right now. I mean, if I'm gonna pick somebody with just who's on the roster, I'm gonna say Jameis Winston. And now Dennis Allen, I feel like
That's an
doesn't trust
interesting.
them.
I'm surprised he's not out there. Is he hurt?
He was, but he did say he's healthy, and he did say in an interview that he was told that he would not lose his spot due to injury, and he lost his spot due to injury. Andy Dalton has been the starter ever since, and technically, we're still in the running for a division, and because we're 5 and I think 8, 5 and 9, something like that, and somehow we're still in the running for our horrible NFC South division. So I mean, it's up
This
there
has now become the new NFC East.
pretty much. Yeah, it really is, and that's crazy to say with the division with Tom Brady in with. I mean, it's hard to say anyone else because no other quarterback in that division even comes close to a league of Tom Brady. I mean, Andy Dalton or Sam Darnold or Desmond Ritter or even Mariota. I mean, someone like that doesn't even match up to Brady. So really and truly, Brady should be just destroying our division right now, and somehow we're still in the running for it. But next year, if I want to pick a quarterback, I'm going Jameis. Just simply someone who's on the roster right now. I mean, I would love to have someone else maybe come in and save our franchise, but I don't even know at this point. So I'll just go with Jameis.
Is Ian Book still on the roster?
No, we let him go after preseason. Thank God, because
Okay.
he was atrocious.
He was great for the Irish, but not as
Yeah,
good
he
for
was.
you know. Crown Dude also wants to know if we could remove cancel culture, I would feel more free. Do you think cancel culture is I definitely think it's a thing because people argue with me about this a lot.
It is.
Um,
It definitely
I
is.
think it's a problem.
It is. It's a huge problem.
I don't think it obviously I don't think it limits your freedom because obviously as long as the government isn't stepping in to tell you what you can say or not do, yeah,
Mhm.
there is a consequence of popular opinion or stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Some of the things that people get canceled for, I go, I don't know about that one. But you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, no, it's a little too extreme nowadays. I feel like anyone's getting canceled for everything now.
and I lean left, and then I still feel like wow, that's some crazy stuff. But
Mhm.
Cran Dude also says, but yeah, USA is number one.
Mhm.
Cave du Monte. Oh, I'm not even gonna try to. Do you know this place? Cran
I
Dude's
do.
hitting
It's
us with
just
the.
yes, yes, yeah. Oh yeah, it's in New Orleans, Cafe Du Monde. It's a very popular New Orleans place, famous for their beignets. And to answer his question, extremely, it is worth the money, worth the trip. Come to New Orleans, come try it out. It's one of the best beignets you ever had.
Let's see. Zion Williams, should he stay or leave the Pelicans?
Oh, absolutely, he should stay. I feel like the Pelicans are moving in the right direction. They finally have a head coach that's actually worth something. They have a bright future. Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum, uh, Jose Alvarado. I mean, the team is moving in the right direction. So Zion is one of those key pieces. I feel like that can really, really keep this Pelicans team in contention. I mean, we're on a losing streak right now, but I mean, still early in the season. So I feel like this Pelicans team will really make a run towards the postseason and even have a possibility of winning the entire thing or even making the finals.
That'd be good to see. I'm not against that at all. Is Baton Rouge ghetto? And Crayon Dude, I don't think we use ghetto as much in 2022. Um, thoughts on that?
The parts I've been to, not really. For me, I don't go to Baton Rouge very often. Last time I went was for an LSU game with Marcus and Jordan. I went and watched Tennessee kick the crap out of us, and the parts I've been to have never really been bad. So if I'm gonna answer the question, I'm gonna say no. I mean, I can't give you a definite no on it because there could be some parts that are, but if there is, I never seen it.
All right, fair enough. He wants to know. He loaded us up, and we have other questions too that we're
That's
ready
fine.
for. Who's the Saints head coach next year?
Honestly, anyone but Dennis Allen. If you follow me on Twitter, I have been on the fire Dennis Allen train for weeks, and it doesn't matter if he's winning. He beat the Falcons. I mean, that's not impressive. So, I mean, I've been on the hashtag fire Dennis Allen train for quite some time, and I'm gonna stay on it until something happens. But it's really, I mean, I feel like he's gonna be the head coach next year, sadly. But I would take anybody at this point.
Okay. I guess he has a question for me. Dan, is that image on your shirt an injured Patriots player? No, this is the year that Cam Newton was our quarterback. And
Mm,
at first we thought, yeah, I actually enjoyed, I have Cam in the background here. I was excited when he came. Obviously, Tom Brady is my favorite player of all time. But when he
mm,
left, I was really excited for Cam Newton to come here because I've always enjoyed Cam Newton's career. It didn't pan
same
out. I
here.
think we might have went 7-9, but I did buy the sweatshirt, and I actually still love it. And I still am a fan of Cam Newton, and wish he could have won more games for us. Murderville, Who Killed Santa on Netflix is hilarious. Okay, we'll check that out. Um, are there many anti Tom Brady people in New England? Actually, yes. Yeah, there are. But there's a lot of people that have picked random fan bases. I have a lot of these friends that grew up here and they hate Tom Brady for whatever. You have some people that hate Tom Brady for leaving. But I would say the majority of New England was like, "Hey Tom, you're in your mid 40s, like go do your thing and thank you for everything you did for us." And that's really how the fan base works with Tom Brady.
Hmm.
I have a Tampa Bay Brady jersey because honestly, as long as he's not playing us, I'm rooting for him. You know, when he came to Foxborough, I wanted his head, but you know. Has Bill Vinovich been welcomed back in New Orleans?
Keep that man out of New Orleans. He was the head officiating guy when it was the no call against the Rams. So I don't think he's been back in New Orleans since the no call, and he's not welcome back at all.
Fair enough. I think you answered this, and I think you and Marcus feel the same way. Are you a fan of Joe Burrow?
Oh yeah, love Joe Burrow. If I'm gonna do like the whole second team thing, I'm not a guy that like says, "Oh, this is my second team" or anything like that. I'm full 100% New Orleans Saints, but for me, I always have a soft spot for Joe, for Jamar Chase, for guys former LSU. Just don't talk bad about Louisiana once you leave. Someone like Eli Apple's done when he played for the Saints. He talked a lot of stuff on Twitter about the Saints and everything. So we don't care for him no more. He's like one of the former guys we can't stand. But yeah, Joe Burrow, I always got a soft spot for him. I'm always going to root for him no matter what.
And I just want to say this because everybody trolls so much on the internet, but like you can have your home team and still root for other players.
Hmm.
Like here in New England, it's like if you as long as you don't go to New York, we'll probably have your back and hope you do well, unless you play us.
All right.
I think a lot of fan bases don't get that. It's like maybe it's because we have such a rivalry with New York. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, yeah. For the Saints, I mean, we've lost players over the years, and anyone that's left us left on good terms, I'm always going to cheer for him. The Bengals have quite a few former Saints over there: Trey Hendrickson, Von Bell, and some others. I mean, I know other teams have former guys from us. I'm always going to root for them. As long as they left on good terms, don't talk nothing bad about us. Like I said, Eli Apple did on Twitter that one day and continues to do it. Then I mean, they're all good with me.
no, I'm with you on that. Alvin Kamara, keeper trade.
For now, I'm gonna say keep, but since the big contract, he has not performed up to speed whatsoever. He's not that guy that he was before he got that big contract. I mean, good thing is he wants to play, and he's not like Michael Thomas, who somehow seems to have a toe injury for like the last like 3 years and just doesn't want to play. So I feel like Michael Thomas is someone we should have got rid of a long time ago. But Alvin Kamara for now, I'll keep him just because he wants to play, and I just feel like he doesn't have that same offensive line that we've always had to really support his runs. So while I'm not, I mean, for him it's not all his fault, but I mean turnovers, stuff like that. That's something that's just not him. So I feel like he'll get back to his normal self soon. So for now, I'll keep him.
All right, let's see who's playing the Super Bowl this year.
I mean, being realistic, I'm not going to say the Saints. I mean, we suck. So, uh, the AFC, I'm gonna go with the Bills. I feel like the Bills are one of the most complete teams in the AFC.
If they don't, then I don't want to hear it from the Bills Mafia anymore. Like, this is your time to go do it. And if you don't, then we don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah, I feel like for me, the Bills are like the most complete team in the AFC. I mean, they have it all right now, and for me, I just feel like it's their conference to lose. It, others I can mention, Cincinnati or even Kansas City. And the NFC's tricky right now. You know, even though the Eagles seem like the better team in the NFL by far, I feel like they're going to be one of those teams that make it and then choke. So the NFC, I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think the 49ers are a good team. Brock
Ooh.
Purdy has looked good. So he stays healthy. The team stays healthy. I really feel like they can make a deep postseason run, make it to the Super Bowl.
I really like that pick because my gut says Eagles, but I'm like that 49ers team, man. They've looked good every time I've seen them. So let's see there. All right, Crayon Dude, we're gonna have to. We has two more. We're gonna take a little break from Crayon Dude because he's got to ask a lot of questions. Some other people had some questions here. Eli Myers, we love Eli. I got to actually meet him in person when
Mhm.
he came to Maine, and I was actually in Maine to play. I'm a big softball guy. I was in Maine for a tournament. He wants to know gumbo or jambalaya.
So it's tough because I mean, for one, I like both, but gumbo, I feel like you have to eat it at the right time because we over here we like to typically eat it in the colder weather, and right now it's I mean really cold over here. And I think I say it's cold over here, but other states may laugh at us because they're like, it's freezing over here. But really and truly, it's like I say upper 30s over here right now, but that's cold for us. I mean, that's
We're
it's
not
very
freezing
cold over
here. I
here.
think it says on my computer we're at 29 degrees, so that's good for New
Yes, but
Hampshire.
but jambalaya, I mean, you can eat it. I mean, anytime. It doesn't matter. So if I gotta pick one, I'm gonna go with gumbo. I feel like gumbo is just good whenever. I feel like it's always gumbo weather. It doesn't matter if it's hot or cold, but for me, like you typically enjoy it more in the colder weather.
All right. He also wants to know, were you part of the Saints Bounty Gate? Were you
No,
throwing money
I
at
was.
Sean Payton or?
Yeah, that was a rough time for the Saints for sure. You know, losing Sean for the whole year. I mean, it was one of our historically bad seasons. I mean, we lost to a rookie in RG3 in our first game of the year. It was a rough time for the Saints. You know, I think like our defensive coordinator or somebody had to be our head coach for almost the whole season, and it was just bad.
I will say I was actually in New Orleans in 2012, and the
Hmm.
shirts were everywhere. I think I might have bought a free because I always like Sean Payton, but I also bought a Who Dat shirt off some
Hmm.
vendor too when I was in New Orleans. It was pretty cool. It's just weird
Nice.
that I was there right after he got suspended. And um, Kendall Payne Glover wants to know, one of the four families member, big supporter of the show. Thoughts on Minneapolis Miracle and the no call against the Rams?
So I already pretty much touched base on the no call. It was a horrible feeling. You know, it feels like your entire life was sucked out of you just in a heartbeat. Because one moment you feel like you're moments away from a berth, a Super Bowl you've honestly could have won because you were playing a Patriots team that only scored, I would say, what was it, 13 on the Rams,
Oh, that
and
Super Bowl was. I know a lot of people say it was boring. I was happy because we won, but it wasn't the best Super Bowl.
yeah, I just feel like the Saints that time. I feel like they can put up more than 13, so I feel like the Saints would have won that Super Bowl. So you're like moments away, and it's all taken away from you because of horrible officiating. So right there, I blame the officiating. That was horrible. It was a horrible call, one that I'll never live. I'll just never get away from because it was just a bad call, and it worked to our disadvantage horribly. The Minneapolis Miracle, Lord, that was a heartbreaker for us. Luckily, I was not there 'cause I did not want to be there at that time. But also, like you feel like you're moments away from playing the Eagles in the NFC Championship, and all of a sudden, within seconds, it's all taken away from you due to horrible coverage by a rookie at the time, Marcus Williams, going for a low tackle on Stephon Diggs, who uh, didn't even make contact with. Somehow, he got it. He got his footing and walked in for a touchdown, and it was taken from us. So both moments were heartbreaking. I feel like one was our fault, one was officiating's fault. But I mean, nonetheless, it was very heartbreaking for both of them. And I feel like the Eagles game would have been more competitive. I feel like because they put up so many points on Minnesota that next week, and they were destined for a Super Bowl right there. But the one with the no call, I feel like that Super Bowl was as good as ours.
Sports can give and can take away so fast.
Absolutely. It can, that's for sure.
Marcus Hayes wants to say this is going to be a great one, so hopefully Marcus is tuning in. Let's hit Crayon Dude's final two questions, then we'll move on here. Are the trolleys worth the money in New Orleans?
I've never been on one. Just to say, as many times I've been to New Orleans, I've never been to one. I see them before. It's good for someone who's visiting the city. I see a lot of people having fun on them. So I mean, if you're ever down over here, come check them out. I mean, like because you may have a good time on them. I never been, like I said, but it seems like it's worth the money. People have fun on them.
I'd like to get to Louisiana one more time. Before I enjoyed my time there. I was going on a cruise, but there was
Mhm.
just there was a lot to do there. Just needed more time. Um, Grand Dude, should Drew Brees be the head coach of the Saints in a few years? I'll let you take this first because I have some questions on this one.
I'm gonna say no, simply because I feel like we should get someone that actually has head coaching experience. I don't really want to go to Jeff Saturday or out the Colts one because it seems like to be an absolute disaster right now for him. He got that first win and people praise him so much, and it's been a dumpster fire ever since, especially with that blown lead this past weekend. Your quarterback is Matt Ryan, who is known for blown leads in the Super Bowl. So, so I'm gonna say no, simply because I love Drew Brees, favorite of all time, no matter what. But no, I just want someone with head coaching experience. I know Purdue hired him as like an interim assistant coach, and he's going to be working the game against LSU. But I feel like LSU should dominate Purdue. They lost their coach already. I think two of their best players already left for the draft. They're not playing in the bowl game, so I feel like LSU should win by a ton. No, I just feel like someone head coaching experience has to come in.
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted Jeff Saturday to actually like. I'm not a Colts fan anyway, but the way everybody was talking about it, I was like, I want him to succeed, and
Hmm.
we're not. It's not happening.
Yeah, not at
So
all.
there's people that make way more money than I do that know better decision making. Um, all right, I want to get into this one of my favorite topics or my favorite segments of the show, which is top fives. I want to know first is running a wrestling, primarily a wrestling podcast. Who are your top
Mhm.
five wrestlers, favorite professional wrestlers of all time?
Number five, I'm gonna go with Stone Cold Steve Austin, someone I followed so much of my childhood, and even seeing him perform at last year's WrestleMania against Kevin Owens was awesome. He was great. I mean, I expected a short match, but I mean, it turned into like a 20-minute match, all over the arena. It was fantastic. Stone Cold's always someone I've always admired. Four, if I'm talking about that match again, Kevin Owens. I witnessed Kevin Owens winning the Universal Championship in Houston at that Monday Night Raw, where Triple H assisted him in pedigree and Seth Rollins, and then Kevin Owens getting the victory. I'm still salty to this day how Kevin Owens lost his Universal title versus Goldberg. I just feel like someone like Goldberg should not hold a title like ever. Three, I'm gonna go with
Not
Bray
against
Wyatt.
that. Not against.
Three, I'm going Bray Wyatt. Also talking Saudi Arabia, the horrible title loss against Goldberg. I feel like it shouldn't have happened. One of the worst matches I think Saudi Arabia has ever hosted. Someone the Fiend had like great potential, and they somehow bury him with Goldberg. Number two, I'm going with Ric Flair. Simply, like I said, it's this one is the only one that's a personal connection with my father. That was his favorite of all time. He was always a big Ric Flair guy. Now, Ric Flair as a person, I'm not huge on him, but as a wrestler, he's one of the greatest of all time, and for me, that just can't be denied at all. And number one, we just did an episode on him. I would say yesterday, actually. Our series returned and we talked Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels is easily, hands down, my favorite of all time. As a child, I had his gear. I had the gloves he wore when he was the Heartbreak Kid, like just getting started into that gimmick. And he wore those red gloves with the Heartbreak on there, and it was awesome. So yeah, that's my top five right there.
Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time too, and it's
Nice.
it's 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 crazy to think about that because I obviously want to go to Hogan or Brett, but when I
Mhm.
actually put the wrestling piece together with the character, and he's not gonna be on the top list of many people, but yeah, it's HBK. I mean, everything he could do because you're seeing matches now in AEW or WWE where they love the false finishes, right?
Mhm.
They're getting that from Sean's second run at wrestling. Okay. To me, a lot of that goes back to WrestleMania 25 in his
Mhm.
match with The Undertaker. And people, I truly believe this, got hooked on false, like, oh my God, he kicked out of a tombstone.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, like, Shawn Michaels was not my favorite wrestler um, growing up. He was one
Mhm.
of my favorites. His second run is what solidified that for me was I can't believe that a guy could come back from a back surgery like he had to be better. And I truly mean this, better than he ever was. And that's the
Mhm.
truth. I mean, he was better,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
was. Yeah.
So definitely gotta agree with that. I gotta ask this. This is a good one. We haven't talked a lot of music here today. Do you have top five favorite musicians?
Yeah, so this one was kind of a thinker for me. I listen to a lot of music. I also listen to a lot of the same people. Like, because when I'm driving, I have my Apple Music up. I listen to a lot of the same songs. It's something that I love doing. It's hard to really, like, listen to a lot of stuff. So really, only two genres of music I really listen to is I listen to rock music, not like that heavy metal stuff, like a Slipknot or some of that where they're constantly screaming into the microphone and you can't understand what they're saying. I like that more of like that soft rock, but sometimes it can get heavy metal if it wants to. And I also listen to country music. That's I feel like it's kind of two like very different genres of music, but that's just two I really enjoy. So from my five, I kind of went like mixed between five. I went Luke Combs. I feel like he's one of my favorite country singers right now. I feel like he's absolutely killing it. He's one of the greatest. He can be looked at as one of the greatest right now. Number four, I went with Disturbed because I love Disturbed's rock music. I just got their new album on vinyl, or I should say, I am getting it very soon. Um, and for me, it's one thing about me. I love vinyl records. I feel like I'm getting more of my old soul with like vinyl records. I have a record player. I have a vinyl collection. Something I love that. Three, a personal connection with my mother on this one because we're the only two in our family that like this country group, but Rascal Flats. I love Rascal Flats. I love their greatest hits albums. I'm also trying to get that one on vinyl soon. Two, I
My
got
brother
a
my
V.
brother got to meet them, by the way. Just wanna say that.
Nice. And
So
yeah, we were actually gonna try to go to their last like little tour in New Orleans, but like the pandemic stopped it, so we were unable to see them, which man, I gotta say pissed me off so bad. I really wanted to see them. Let's see, two, I'm gonna go with Avenged Sevenfold. I love Avenged Sevenfold. They're one of my favorite rock bands. But if I'm gonna stick on the rock trend right here, I got I Prevail as number one.
okay.
I I got into I Prevail, I'd say around 2017, and I've just been following their music ever since. They have a new album that just came out. I listen to them constantly. I love their music. a really good rock band. They're like more softer, but they can get heavy metal if they want. They're a mix between both. So while I don't like, the heavy metal where they're screaming constantly, I feel like I Prevail is like one of those softer bands, but they do scream at times. It's not all the time, but it's just really enjoyable music.
No, no, I like that. And Crayon Dude's shouting out. I like that. What hurts? That's definitely Rascal Flats.
Oh yeah.
You know, as I can't say that I'm a huge fan of them. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of their songs I really enjoy. I do. My thing like country music. I didn't start liking until I was like 20 years old, 21 years old, and
Mhm.
now I'm like, yeah, I was wrong on that. But again, though, I'll get criticism because people will be like, "You just like that pop country music." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, I don't like the twangy stuff. It's not really for me."
Right.
But you know, I got to ask. This is a big one here that we ask everybody that I really want to know. Do you have a top five favorite movies?
So this was also a thinker. I really had to think about this list because I love a lot of movies, but to pick a top five was very challenging. So I started narrowing it down to like favorite actors I have, and
Okay.
I'm kind of picking their favorite movies from them. Five, for one, I love Adam Sandler. I had to pick a movie from him, and my favorite Adam Sandler movie is Billy
New
Madison.
Hampshire guy.
Yeah, yeah, I love Billy Madison. That's my favorite Adam Sandler movie of all time by far. So number four, I went with the same sort of formats. I went with another actor I love, Chris Farley, and I went Tommy Boy.
Mm,
Number three, I'm gonna go back to the personal connection. My father got me into this movie, and I became addicted the moment I watched it. I'm gonna go with Smokey and the Bandit.
okay.
I absolutely love that movie.
That's Burt Reynolds, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Let's see. Number two is my favorite Christmas movie of all time, and just one of my favorite movies ever. And I made it a tradition to watch it every Christmas Eve. I do not watch it up until Christmas Eve. So if I see it playing on TV, then I make it a priority not to watch it Christmas Eve during the evening when I turn it on. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Okay. Chevy Chase represented.
And then number one, this has always been my favorite movie ever. I haven't seen it in so long. I need to tune into it very soon. But Hardball with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, okay.
I love that movie.
And they give Daps a Biggie in that movie.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm a sucker for baseball movies. If
Hmm.
baseball is in it, like I want to see that movie. Like and I think Kevin Costner is like the go to baseball movies, but like
Hmm.
if there's any baseball movie, I'm in.
Right. Oh
Um
yeah, for sure.
Now I gotta ask this, Louisiana guy, but a Red Sox fan. Who are your top five favorite Red Sox?
Number five, he's the only current one that's on the team right now. I just pray to God we don't let him go. We have a trend of letting good people
He's
either
gone.
walk or trade him or something like that. So I'm hoping that we don't do this. But Rafael Devers,
Yeah, he's
I
gone.
love
Yeah.
Rafael Devers.
He won't even talk about his contract. So
I know that's I know that's the scary part about it. He won't talk about it, so I feel like he's as good as gone now. Let's see. Four. I'm gonna go with the master of the knuckleball. I'm gonna go Tim Wakefield.
ooh.
I
All
love
right.
Tim Wakefield. I love that knuckleball.
Now were like because I know where I was in 2003. How did you
Hmm.
feel when he gave up that home? Because he felt like it was all on him, but it wasn't. Obviously,
No.
leaving Pedro in too long, Matsui getting that hit.
Hmm.
Tim Wakefield, he thought he was going to be the butt of every joke.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way, but
No. Not at all. No. Let's see. For number three, I'm gonna go Manny Ramirez, and then at two Pedro Martinez, and one I gotta go David Ortiz. I mean, David Ortiz is my guy for sure. I gotta go with him number one.
yeah, he's by far my favorite player of all time.
Oh
Shout out
yeah.
Dave Nix. We love you, Dave. Nashville boys represent. We came from the same neighborhood. We lost one of our own the other day, so it's good to hear from friends from years ago. So, all
Hmm.
right, who else do you have? I gotta
But that
hear
was my
this some.
5 right there. But that was my 5 right there with,
Okay, is Ortiz number one for you?
Ortiz was number 1 and 2,
Okay.
was Pedro Martinez.
So I got to see them both inducted in the Hall of Fame. And I
Mm.
have you been to Cooperstown at all, or?
I have never, like, went there. I've never been to Fenway. It's always to go to Fenway and even go to Cooperstown. I gotta check it out at some point in my life.
Well, I would say Foy has to be in one, but Cooperstown is like if you want to be
Mhm.
in baseball, like I think that's what heaven is
Mm,
like just going to Cooperstown and being like you could buy anything you want or whatever you want to do. So definitely do that. The East Coast is it's a good place.
right. Oh,
So
yeah.
I want to get into one more segment here. It's buy or sell,
Okay.
and it is I'm going to give you a word. I'm going to give you something. You tell me whether you're buying or selling. Um, First one, Kanye West.
So, mm,
He's
not
just
big
not
on
the
him.
same guy.
He's not. He's and I feel like he suffered the same thing that a lot of people have suffered, is being a victim of the Kardashians. Seemed like no one's the same after that.
He's totally like lost his mind. Like you don't know what he's gonna say next. So,
Yeah.
um, Alex Cora,
Oh, bye. Yeah, for sure.
Chain Bloom.
I'm gonna say sell. He's not making good moves. He's not good for the organization. I see a lot of people complaining, and honestly, I'm one of them because he's not making good moves. He's letting the people walk. He's trading Mookie Betts. I mean, I feel like that was one of the worst moves like recently that we've made.
Oh, he just let him go. We didn't get anything for
Yeah,
him.
really, and we didn't. That's the sad part about it.
Um, yeah, everybody seems to be leaving. I don't think he's very good. I don't think they should have fired what's his name there. I can't think of it right now. The 2018 team was so good, and I can't think of
Mhm.
he was from Detroit or whatever. I can't think of his name right now, but they fired him.
Yeah, me either. I
Uh,
can't think of him.
oh my god. Someone in the jeez, I can't think of it. It's been a long time with this team, but the New England Patriots in 2022.
I'm gonna say sell. I don't know, something about them right
Dombrowski.
now.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
forget.
yeah, Dombrowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah, he was great. But but no, the Patriots this year, I gotta sell them. I don't know, something about like you mentioned already, they're undisciplined. That horrible play last week. I just feel like that some changes are needed for that roster. I feel like Mac Jones is good. He just doesn't have a lot of good pieces around him.
No, I truly believe this, and I've been telling my friends this. I go, this is coaching, and I love Bill Belichick. I really love Bill Belichick. I think he's the greatest
Hmm.
coach of all time. This is all falling on him. This
Hmm.
team, we went from doing your job to being very undisciplined, and I get it. Maybe Bill doesn't want to do this for the rest of his life, but
Hmm.
right now this team is a mess. It's an absolute mess.
Yeah.
I gotta ask this now. I know you're a Pelicans fan.
Hmm.
Buy or sell the Pelicans name as a franchise. I know there were Hornets before. I have a New Orleans Hornets hat. I showed Marcus this the other day. But I gotta ask, what did you think of the name Pelicans?
At first, I didn't like it, so that was a huge sell for me. But right now, I'm kind of buying them. Right now, I've kind of grown onto it. Something I wish that we would adapt sooner or later is Utah giving us the Jazz name back. We don't because you don't think of Jazz when you think of Utah. So because you think of Jazz when you think of New Orleans, so I feel like the Jazz being back in New Orleans would be such a cool touch to the team. But right now, I've kind of grown into the Pelicans name.
Do you see a lot of Pelicans in Louisiana, or is it just New
No,
Orleans in that part of New?
I've
Okay,
I don't see him at all, like, at all.
okay. All right, fair enough. We have the New Hampshire Fisher Cats here, which is a minor league team, and it's rare
Mhm.
to see a Fisher Cat. So I don't. I've always been curious how people thought about that name. Sean Payton coaching in the NFL still.
I'm gonna say bye because I know he's interested in coming back. I know this was just a one off from this year being away from coaching. But I mean, if somebody wants him, they have to offer us something because we still hold his rights. So you got to offer us something good to get him. And I really feel like that we deserve something for him. He's a great head coach.
AEW as it stands right now.
Oof, man, it's a tough one. I don't know. Right now, I'm selling right now, and the reason why is because I feel like their roster is way too big, and they're not showcasing the people they should be showcasing right now. They're focused on the wrong people, and I feel like they only highlight just who they want to. You know, Triple H, I feel like he's highlighting so many people right now on Raw and SmackDown and even NXT. He's bringing talent over to NXT to even work over there. Some that weren't getting the TV time they deserved on Raw and SmackDown. But for Tony Khan, he's not making the right moves over there. You know, people that deserve TV time on Dynamite or even Rampage has been demoted to their YouTube show in Dark. And really, not a lot of people watch Dark. I mean, they had a Dark episode I think that just premiered a little while ago. And for me, I don't watch Dark. You know, I've never watched an episode of Dark like since it started. So there's so many people that deserve TV time, but their roster's too big over there. He signs everybody he wants to. So I mean, I feel like he's just signing people just to do it, but he has no plan in place for him at all.
No, it's sad. It's just, I hate to say this about Tony Khan. I've said it before. It's like, imagine if us were rich and we just had a wrestling company. We probably wouldn't know what to do. Like, he needs to put people in place that know better than he does. And he hasn't done that
Mhm.
because I think he thinks he knows better. And I'll always root for AEW. I will always root for them. But right now, it's like, this is not good.
No, not at all.
Uh, the XFL coming back in 2022, 2023, I should say.
I'm gonna buy it because they were doing so well before the pandemic struck. I was following the DC Defenders. I mean, they were doing pretty well.
That's my
They were
team,
on like
DC Defenders.
they were on like kind of a losing streak. I know Cardell Jones was their guy over there, but I mean, I know he got like I think he got benched before the season was pulled, and I mean they were doing well. I mean, ticket sales were phenomenal for the XFL, and I feel
I
like
was
they
at
were
their
one of the other.
true story. I was at their last
Mhm.
game.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for me, I felt like they were doing well. I mean, ticket sales were great. I mean, I feel like they were one of the better football leagues outside the NFL in the states, and they were doing well. So I feel like the pandemic is their reason why that they failed. And for me, it's not because of the ticket sales. It's not because of the attendance or anything. The pandemic is the reason why the XFL failed for 2020.
No, I 100% agree. I literally went to the last game. The Beer Snake was there in DC.
Yes,
I have a buddy in DC. We went there. I still have all my Defender stuff. They were the closest to the East that wasn't New York, which is why I root for
right.
them. And we
Hmm.
had so much fun that day. And we didn't take COVID We literally were like, this is a joke, right? And we actually had our last hurrah. And we even got into the uh, DC basketball game that night too. So
Mm,
um, then all hell broke loose. So
yeah,
um,
it did.
you guys said you reviewed this. I got to ask. Halloween ends.
Oh man, I'm gonna sell it for their last movie of the franchise. It did not live up to the expectation at all. Because I mean, I don't want to spoil it for nobody who hasn't seen it yet, but I feel like I mean, Michael Myers is known to be the killer and go on a huge killing spree every movie, but I feel like he kind of took the back seat in this one and let the other guy do the killings, and it just wasn't for me. You know, I feel like the last movie of the franchise, let Michael Myers go out with a bang, and they certainly didn't do that at all.
It was bad. I did a review on it, and I was like, man, I got to be honest with it. This was not good, and it's kind
Mm-mm.
of crazy. I'm not against introducing another character, but like the way they did it, it's just you're right. Halloween Kills was awesome. This was
Oh
just
yeah,
it was a wet fart.
yeah.
Bill Belichick in 2022.
I'm gonna say sell because I feel like since Tom left, he hasn't been the coach that everyone made him out to be. I kind of feel like he's like, and this is no disrespect at all towards Bill. He's a legend. He's one of the greatest of all time, and honestly, it's not even close. But I feel like the comparison of like when Ed Orgeron was at LSU and he had Joe Burrow behind him, so many people looked at Coach O as one of the greatest ever in college football. And the moment he lost Joe, I mean, he was a very mediocre coach. Now that's not me calling Bill mediocre whatsoever. I mean, he has the rings to back it up. But I feel like he hasn't been the same coach since Tom left. I mean, he had Cam Newton, Mac Jones. So I mean, he hasn't really had the greatest support either. So I'm not going to call him out fully for his coaching. I mean, he just hasn't had the greatest support staff either. So this year, though, I got to sell.
Yeah, right now it's not looking good for sure. um, Now let me ask you this: you might not be as familiar with this, but we at the show are big fans of Major League Rugby.
Mm,
Uh, New Orleans has a team that's not is pretty. They're pretty decent here.
mm.
New Orleans Gold. You just got Dougie Fife. Any selling on MLR or the New Orleans team?
I mean, I'm gonna take your word on it that they're decent. So I guess I'll buy them. I mean, like I said, I don't keep up with it at all. But like,
We want to make a
the,
fan here.
yeah, yeah, oh for sure, yeah. If you say they're decent, then I'll take your word for it, and I'm gonna buy it.
All right, all right. And I think that the league's going to continue to grow. I think New Orleans has a great team. Obviously, here in New England, we do. Chicago's about to have a great team. They have some of the
Hmm.
biggest picks for the Chicago Hounds. That we want to see this league grow. I think rugby is a great sport and needs to grow in the United States more than
Hmm.
soccer.
Right.
Spoiler alert, if anybody saw
Yeah.
that. But MJF.
Oh, buy easily buy. For me, he is carrying the company of AEW on his back right now. He's phenomenal talent. Should have been AEW champion a long time ago. I'm just shocked it took him that long.
The Bloodline.
Just because of how big they are, and I feel like they're the greatest thing going in WWE. I'm gonna buy it. I mean, easily. I mean, they're the great. I'm not big on Roman. I think he's very stale. I think his title reign so far. I mean, right now is stale. He's not appearing. He's a champion for both uh of both brands, and he works that part time schedule where for some reason he's a champion, but he needs like a Roman Reigns returns graphic, which I mean the champions should not have that. So I feel like at Mania he needs to drop him. I mean, I feel like the time has come for him to drop the titles. He hasn't been pinned in like 3 years. I just feel like the time's come where he needs to drop him. Same with the Usos. I mean, if you're not gonna have him drop both titles, at least let the Usos keep one and let some tag team on Raw or SmackDown prevail with the other titles. And there's no reason to keep them at all. Now, Sami Zayn's doing phenomenal stuff with the Bloodline, but I do think they will turn on him very, very soon.
No, I agree, and I'd like to see that. I want Cody to beat Roman. That's ideally what I
Hmm.
want to see. Um, Cran Dude saying Dylan, Phil, and Usi. In MLR, it depends on your market. We do have it here in New England. It is on the local stations, but also Cran Dude, if you really want to watch, it's really simple. Download the Major League, Rugby Network app on your phone, and you'll be able to get any game you want, and it's free. Triple H running WWE.
I mean, I know people have been calling it underwhelming with the signings. I know a lot of people have been complaining about it, but right now I'm buying it because he's bringing back a lot of people that other people were frustrated that were let go in the past. And because he just brought back Bronson Raw, I think that was a huge get for him. I mean, he's had great matches with Okada in New Japan, and now you're bringing him to Monday Night Raw. That's phenomenal. I think now I hope they don't keep him with the Miz. Just hope this was like a one time thing, helping him win, and Bronson Reed does his own thing. I hope they don't try to do what they were doing with Tommaso Ciampa and pair him with the Miz. I feel like guys like that should be on their own. But I mean, he's been bringing back so many great guys and a lot of talented female wrestlers as well. So his run so far has been phenomenal. So I'm about it.
CM Punk.
Oh, sell. No. Like, I mean, it was nice to see him come back. The pop was phenomenal on Rampage in Chicago. But I mean, he's been nothing but causing problems. I mean, look at the thing at All Out. He went on a full thing, like a full rant in front of Tony Khan, who didn't say a thing. So that's why I feel like AEW's in the toilet, because Tony Khan, who's the owner of the company, and just let your top AEW champion say all that stuff about Cole Cabana, get into their personal lives, and then the
Tony looks like a
whole
bitch.
oh, easily. And then the whole scuffle with the Bucks, with Kenny Omega, even Ace Steel getting into the mix. It's just a mess over there. So CM Punk, I think, needs to be gone from AEW. I know there's been some chatter about if he leaves AEW, coming back to WWE, which I wouldn't really like too much. I feel like the product right now is good, and they don't need a CM Punk over there. So I think he needs to stick to whatever else he's doing and just stay away from professional wrestling.
I always want to see him, so I want him back. But what
Hmm.
went on there was just like, ugh, this is ugly. Like this is more ugly than it needs to be a entertainment wrestling company.
Right. Yeah.
It's just weird. I got to ask this because we talked about it a little bit. The Jeffrey Dahmer miniseries. You buying or selling that?
So I'm gonna
I
buy it.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. I see a lot of complaints about it on Facebook, on Twitter, saying they shouldn't be showcasing a murderer like him, and even like that. But the thing is that people get so grossed out by it, saying they couldn't finish it, they couldn't get through the first episode. Honestly, if you just go on Google, I mean, search who Jeffrey Dahmer is. I mean, that'll leave you with a warning right there not to watch it. I mean, like, because you know what the guy did. He's a horrible person. He was a cannibal, murderer. I mean, the guy was, I mean, he was a horrible person. So, I mean, like, it just takes one Google search to know what he did. And that would kind of leave you with, like, oh, should I watch this? Should I not? So, so if you're trying to watch it, don't complain that it's too much, too graphic, because you should already know what you're getting yourself into. But for me, it was a good series. I mean, I found like they did the reenactments good. You know, I'm one that loves like the reenactment murder shows. They even had one on Ted Bundy a while back. Zach Efron played him, and I
Oh
found it
yeah,
was good. So I mean, it just takes a quick Google search to really know what's going on. So I mean, so don't complain about it if you already know what the guy did, because you're just setting yourself up.
I thought the acting was great. I thought everything they did was good with it. I enjoyed the series. I've watched it twice. Obviously, Jeffrey Dahmer was a sick, disturbed individual. Um, but I thought I guess the only issue I would have is that people said the families didn't get reimbursed or whatever. And the only other issue too was creative liberties, right?
Hmm.
Where you make up stuff that never happened.
Hmm.
And they did that a lot in that series. But I thought the acting was unbelievable. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But I if your one criticism is these families didn't get paid and they made stuff up, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to argue with you on that, but I did enjoy the series, and obviously this man was a s- you know I don't know because you do watch his interviews and you go, man, he's really just articulating what he did, which is the
Hmm.
scariest thing I've ever. It's not just him though. He's not even the worst serial killer that we've ever seen.
No.
You know, so definitely. I don't know. People are always gonna be. I think the families should be paid for what happened on the show or whatever. But
Mm.
other than that, I don't have a problem with it.
No, me either.
So I want to ask this big one. This is the biggest one that we're going to ask you: buy or sell Marcus Hay?
Dude, he's one of my best friends. So yeah, for sure, I gotta buy it.
Can he take the podcast to the next level,
Oh, most
or help
definitely.
you take it?
He's. Oh well, I mean, we all have a part in taking it to the next level. I mean, he contributes a lot. I mean, he does his own little series of the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the guy does a lot for the show. You know, he's taken some breaks from the show, much needed breaks, to just really regather himself and just to make the show better. And I mean, in 2 years' time, a little over 2 years, he's done phenomenal work for the show. And 2023, he has a lot to offer. So check us out in the years to come because we have a lot of great stuff planned.
And Dylan, how can we find you guys?
The podcast, we're on Twitter at World Elite Pod. We're on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram. My personal account on Twitter is at Dylan Hebert underscore. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well. For my personal page, if you want to talk football, wrestling, it doesn't matter. Hit me up. I'm always down for a talk.
All right. Well, everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have a great week. The holidays are here. We're about 5 days away from Christmas. So I want everybody to be with their families. And until next time, let freedom ring.